on is like, you have to think beyond just the notes of like what you're playing, but how you present yourself. The whole thing is important. And I mean, in this day and age, you can control almost every aspect of it. How do you think about how you present yourself when there's so many moving parts? You know, as a trumpet player, as a vocalist, how have you brought that together as what feels natural and congruent with who you are? Like, you know, obviously that's been a process, right? To build up Bria Skonberg as a brand. How have you worked on that?
Yeah, big question.
Yeah. So super easy to answer.
Yeah, because you know, like everybody, it feels kind of slimy to think about. You're like, oh, the branding of this, or you know, I think it has to come from an authentic place of who are you? This is something to ask. You know, who are you? What do you sound like, and what do you care about? Are ultimately the core questions that you should ask yourself, and then see how everything else in your life reflects that. You know, what are the things? What are your values? You know, I think I've always loved finding ways to get people together, get people to connect, and how to motivate people to get excited about different things. You know, if I was to rewind back to my high school days, I did a lot in the band program. Of course, I played and I sang. I was in a ska band. I had a lot of fun, but I also I was on sports teams. You know, I had a megaphone. I would yell, start all the cheers, etc. And I was on student council, organizing events for the mass goods, and just kind of getting into the whole spirit of things. Those are just, that had a little bit to do with where I come from, my hometown, which had in my memory, in my heart, has a lot of spirit like that. But that's something that I've tried to continue to bring forward, is, you know, that spark of like, okay, what can I do that would be fun or funny or interesting, or, you know, get people together, and music has just been the best, greatest vehicle to communicate with people all over the world with that. So I think at this, if that is, I think if I embody something, or maybe I hope that my brand is that I'm just open. I'm so open, especially at this point now that, you know, I've been through enough of life experience and to playing, and I don't, you know, I'm comfortable with who I am.
Yeah.
You know, I'm comfortable with who I am through trial and error, through many different things, and those are the things that I value and that excite me and interest me.
Okay, right. It's a huge topic, and I think a lot of times when someone first says brand, it's kind of like, oh, it's like, how do you sell yourself? But it's not. That's the slimy part that I think people associate with it, is like the business aspect of it. But I think to what you're saying is like, you got more in tune with who you are, what you're about, and yourself, and by doing so, the presentation of it came together. Because I mean, this aspect comes into play, I think, in every aspect. Like, think about if, you know, once you get to a certain point in your music career after school and whatnot, it's like you can practice anything. So it's like, how do you make the decisions about what are the songs you like to play? What are the things that you want to head in that direction? Because once you have a certain facility, it's like, so those are where those questions of brand, I guess what I meant is like, you have, when I think of Bria, it's like, there's so much to what you're doing and what you present. And I guess it was just like, you bring this unique combination of all of these factors, the songs that you choose, the way that you sing, the instruments that you're playing, you know, all these come together in a unique thing that only is you. So I guess you know, this is a larger question, but for the younger audience, it's like something they need to start thinking about as far as getting towards that, asking themselves those questions. So I think you hit it. That's what I was kind of getting at, is like, how did you start to think about that? And it's something that's done over a lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. It took a long time. It took a long time because, you know, I was brought up in this wonderful scene of especially traditional jazz, roots jazz. And I felt, you know, for a long time that I wanted to make sure that I appeased that audience as well. And because it's something that I love, but I needed to take some chances along the way. Finding your own voice comes over time. You know, I think there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of conversation about how to find your voice these days. But I just also think that you need to spend a lot of time studying what came before worrying too much about that as well. Right, you know, okay. I culture, you know, maybe.
Right, 100%. Right, like there's a little bit of unhealthy narcissism there when you're like, oh, I already know what I have to say, without, like what you're saying, studying a little bit what came before. You might be repeating something that's already been done.
And as far as again, as far as branding, I was a band leader right out of high school. My high school, we had a combo, and most of us went into music in different schools going into university. So we kept the band together. So everything that I had done to that point, from leading sports teams and organizing events, had bubbled into this sort of entrepreneurial mindset of, okay, how do I make this? How do I get to be part of events? And I have a product that I can share here. We've got some peppy kids. What do we look like? What do we sound like? And how do I describe it? How do I create an experience through words or sharing videos that makes people get excited and makes us want to go in and do those things? So between that and you said the six-figure audience course, here I am. I've been a professional for quite a while now, but I'm still learning, still sharpening that saw. The gates keep changing, and that's why I signed up for the course, because I was like, there are certainly more to learn along this whole way. So I do think about it. I guess the answer is that I'm conscious of it, and that will immediately help, you get better at it.
No, I think you're right. I just don't think the conversation even happens. So that's why I think it's great, like artists like yourself it's not that you become so consumed with brand that the actual substance goes out the window, but it's also that you're making sure that the substance actually gets communicated well because you've thought about how to present it.
And ask yourself, what do you want to say, and what is it that you don't want to say? What are you communicating right now that it's contrary to what you actually want to be known for? Whether that is how you're presenting yourself, obviously visually, but how are you writing comments on other people's pages? What is your dialogue? Those sorts of things. And is it authentic, or are you doing it from a place to garner certain attention? And is it the right attention for the long term? I think that's important.
Difficult questions to answer, but ones that need to be answered.
Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do.